a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Christmas movie, Christmas movie, Christmas movie, Christmas movie, Christmas movie. We're watching
Love Actually.
Ooh.
Actually, because I decided that like 10 minutes ago.
Well, that is on the
So
spur
we're
of the
so
moment.
not prepared.
It's that kind of movie, a very on the spur of the moment kind of movie. So let's start. The film is from 1998, I think, believe it is ish. This is working title is the English production company at that time making movies. So it's a name worth stopping for, which is why I stopped for it.
I was surprised to have an intro by Hugh Grant because I know he's not the main character. No, well, nobody's the main character, but
nobody's the main character. He's any no more or less the main character than any of them. And I think you may be remembering it wrong. He's pretty main in this thing.
Oh, nice.
What I like about this, because I have largely forgotten the movie, and I mean remember the gist of it, but the whole movie is actually in this very first scene. That's it. You can now go home.
Okay, well, we can stop now. That was fun. Had a good time. See you later. Bye. Have a lovely Christmas. But I do want to see Hugh Grant, and I want to see Liam Neeson.
He's just now going to. He's just now going. They're not going to show what he just said. They are now going to show because he just did a tell, and now going to do a show. There we go.
The film is from 2003. It's over 2 hours, so it's going to be a long afternoon. And it was produced by the UK, the US, and France, and it's the budget was 40 million.
And it made back its money many fold, I believe.
Yeah, the takings at the box office was 220 million. We're talking US dollars, but really, when you're talking those kinds of amounts, who cares what denomination it is in, as long as it's not in something really tiny.
Yeah, I think even though possibly Four Weddings is more famous as such, I think this one made more money. I think this one was the most roaring success of all these British movies.
No. The Four Weddings made the same amount of money, and they had a much smaller budget, and they were 1995. So
yeah, they had 5 years. But this one was at the time it was the most successful, fastest, and stuff like that. Everybody was talking about this one.
Well, what is good about this movie, even though we're only going to watch it now, but what is good is that they actually had the Christmas theme in it, because you can have a heartfelt movie, which a lot of these things are, but if you have a Christmas themed heartfelt movie, then you get the chance of people actually watching it because they want to watch a heartfelt something at Christmas. Yeah, I know, sounds redundant, so but
so this guy, this movie is about the British everyman and the more special everyman, and I think the singer guy is a collection of all has been English rockers like Cliff Richard, who's not a has-been, but Cliff Richard is definitely what they had in mind here, but the has-been version of him, and all the there's a couple of them that started getting careers back after this because rediscovery. So this is definitely a kind of everyman, British everyman.
Mm-hmm. And it is appealing to the music that everybody knows, and now going to cheesify it basically from good schmaltz. They're now making elevator music, and he's objecting to it. I found the song. I was expecting it to be something like the Beatles. It's called Love Is All Around, obviously, and it is not the Beatles. It's an English rock band called the Troggs. I have never heard of them. I apologize to every UK.
No. And there is a whole bunch of really evergreen classics of all kinds that only were made like by one band. They had like one good song and it became an evergreen, and this is one of them. And the other thing that they are parodying is the fact that British always had a Christmas song to top the charts.
Oh gosh, yes. The Christmas.
The Cliffmas song, and he is trying to get that Christmas song. That's why the producer, his manager, is talking about gold, because it's
Christmas #1. Yeah,
that's what they're aiming for. They want an instant #1, and these old rockers, they have had a good track record of that. That they come back after many years and then poop out a a Christmas song and then go straight to #1. So that's what the manager is hoping for.
We've been given our parts in the nativity play. And I'm the lobster.
The lobster?
Yeah.
In the nativity play?
Yeah, first lobster.
There was more than one lobster present at the birth of Jesus.
Duh.
So we had a couple of she's sick in bed and he is going off doing whatever. We had the gentleman calling his friend because he's lonely because his wife died, and then we had the friend who is a house mom and who has to make a lobster costume for the nativity play. Second lobster.
First lobster, because there's more than one. At the birth of Jesus. I seem to remember that she was the sister.
Is that it? Yeah. And well, no, actually, that's not possible because he's doing his Irish accent. He's actually showing.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because that's what I remember.
I think they're just friends, or maybe he is in her husband's firm or something like that. But we'll find out. But I like it because then Liam Neeson hardly ever gets to do his Irish accent because he's Irish, so he can do it really well. Okay. So this is a nice because again we're doing the British everyman, and there's Ireland is part of Great Britain, or
Northern Ireland. Yeah,
Northern Ireland is part of Great Britain, and it's a sizable chunk. So and the first lobster in the nativity play. So we've had
oh my gosh, a lot of people already.
Yeah, the young man who is still unattached and roving eye, also not very good job yet. The office that I know that the Alan Rickman character is going to be working at, because I remember that. The secretary of Alan Rickman, secretary, his name is going to come up, I'm sure. And
Harry. Alan Rickman plays Harry.
of Harry. And there's a wedding going on at the same time, because weddings go on all the time. Because also for weddings and a funeral, every British thing has to have a wedding. Anyway, it is part of the plot.
Gosh, yes.
Interesting thing is, of course, in 2003, the groom is a person of color, and the bride is person of another color. Let me put it this way. She's so that's cool. I think that's just cool. The Brits from about 2000-ish started to really put in diversity wherever they could. So they wanted, and they've now been doing it for about 20 years. So you see
where we didn't see it at all in Four Weddings and a Funeral, which is about 8 years earlier. We're seeing it now in his movie. So things are progressing. We've got, in what looks like the main cast, we've got some black people. That's at least something, it's good. It's a good start.
Yeah, but it's the British way of putting diversity in their things is just stick them some places and then do that for 20 years, which they've now done for 20 years. And now people think it's perfectly normal that you have a film about the First World War and there's in a Belgian trench, there's a person of color, which is, of course, no, but
we'll see.
This is the British way of doing it. The ultimate everyman, of course, the Prime Minister, of course, duh.
This is not going well.
I think they actually had a list of all the things that love can do, and everything is on it. Marriage, getting married, being married, just still having a relationship, being cheated on, being somebody who is not in love with you, wanting love, not wanting love.
Yeah.
Too good for love.
Inconvenient falling in love, as we just saw the Prime Minister falling in love with the quirky girl.
At least I think it's mutual, so that's the thing. But because the falling in love with the wrong person is also going to happen, I believe. So yeah,
I remember that. And we just saw a flash mob of All You Need Is Love in the church. At the wedding, that was epic. I'm surprised that doesn't get spoofed a lot more or get redone, because that's such a really good. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's actually worth the price of admission already. I mean, this movie is a no-brainer. Go watch. I mean, duh.
Yeah, really. I mean, all small smiles.
God, I wish you hadn't turned it down.
I didn't.
Right.
Yeah, that whole storyline. I'm sorry, that's just the wet dream of a male writer.
Yes.
He goes to an ugly Englishman goes to America, and he just gets crawled over by girls, and it's just
by Playboy bunnies.
I'm gonna say this is by far the worst storyline on this entire movie, and I don't want to talk about it anymore after this point because. So the ugly British guy is a caterer who went to the wedding and now is catering for this movie set, and his friends at who I think was also at the wedding, but this friend is also at this movie is working at this movie set as a gaffer or something like that. One of those names that's on the end on the credit list. And this set of people is the Brits doing an embarrassing job. And there's just entertaining to watch them do and being embarrassed about having an embarrassing job.
Yeah. It's Martin Freeman as John here. And I'm not sure if this is his first big role or not.
Yes.
But he's so young, comparatively speaking.
This is not even a big role. The Sherlock was his big role, and it's a couple of years away from here. He's just another British guy in this movie. A lot of these people that we see now in this movie are famous after this, either directly after or somewhat later. Really famous faces.
Mm-hmm.
The only people of name that are in it before the thing started are Emma Thompson, Alan Rickman, Hugh Grant, and Rowan Atkinson in a British sort of way, because not American famous.
Colin Firth.
Colin Firth, but also these are British famous people. Hugh Grant and Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson at least were internationally famous.
Yeah, Colin Firth is famous with the Pride and Prejudice all over the.
British famous, and it became famous after this point in America because it got shown a couple of times on PBS. It took a while to get off. That's
so the embarrassment here is the purely British shame about sex, and then trying to not show that you are embarrassed. So it gives like so many layers of embarrassment and non-embarrassment on top of each other. Yeah. But I do like the scenes with these two.
Yeah,
they're just really sweet.
So this job is actually in the film industry. This is called a stand-in. They are not. They are in the positions of which the actors are going to be but the actors are still being made up and fluffed and folded and still eating and still resting.
And he's measuring for lighting in
For
the various spots.
setting up lights, fuffing around with camera positions, and doing test shots, and that is why it takes such a long time, and that's why they have a stand-in. In olden days, when the lights were really putting out more heat than actual lights, these stand-ins would basically melt. That's why they have to stand in, because you can't have the actress melting her makeup off. So you put in the stand-in, let them do all that work, and then when the shot is ready, the stand-in has to look as much as the original, as the character, as the actress or actor, so that the light is all the same. And they put in the after all the setup, they put in the actress, do the last checkup, and then do your scene. This is why movie making is such a palaver, and that's why there's a lot of complaints from actors as well, because stand-in can do a lot, but you still have to do the last bit. There's a lot of standing around and waiting for people to do stuff.
And the gossip is that basically, if you give lighting time to do the lighting, they will take all the time to do the lighting. So there is a point where somebody has to say, we're done now, this is as good as it gets, because we need to move on.
Yeah, and that's in modern filmmaking, that they have a special director of photography. He's in charge of that sort of thing. He says, okay, now it is the way I want it. We figured it all out, or we're going to stop now because we don't have any more time, and we're going to actually do the scene. This movie, of course, is of a questionable nature.
Yes. And the thing is, you're starting to wonder if they're being asked to do the especially the massaging, if they're being asked to do that for the titillation of the crew behind the camera, because it's a point where you go, really? And that was the point for me. It's like, yeah, you can talk about, the lighting on her, unmentionables, but
I think it's purely just for comedic effect for this movie, and not for the actuals.
Yeah, I thought, and it's just making especially him, because she's pretty cool with it. And if I checked it out correctly, she's a German actress, but I'm not 100% sure I've got the right person. So we'll check it out once we hear her name. But he's doing the absolute, I'm gonna ignore this is happening, and we're talking about the traffic at the junction. That's what we're talking about here. And in a way, it's really sweet. He's taking care of her by making it as sociable and businesslike as he can, and unsexualizing the situation.
Warming up his hands beforehand.
Oh, so sweet. He's just so lovely. I mean, he's gentle guy so far. We've only seen him for 5 minutes, if that. But
well, that's what the thing about a movie is that you get, like, if you get 5 minutes to be introduced, that's a lot in a movie. That's
why I prefer television.
Yeah, okay, but there's a lot of other stuff happening in a movie. What I like about movies in this sort of situation is the craft with which they introduce this person in like 30 seconds flat. They can introduce a person.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And that's wonderful. And it's, of course, it's the acting talent, it's the writing talent, it's all the rest of it. But yeah,
you need the script.
That you have this scene, and he warms up his hand beforehand. It's like 10 seconds, and it shows so much about his personality.
Yeah, and it's either in the script or they decided on set. But somebody who decides that actually makes the movie, because if you don't put little details like that in, then you have cardboard stick figures walking from A to B, especially here where he has to be fairly emotionless, but he is warm emotionless by being nice to her, smiling when she looks back at him, and just being lovely chatty and going, I'll warm my hands up first.
I think his main emotion at the moment is complete embarrassment.
Yeah. I doubt that he could get it up because he's so embarrassed at any rate. So
it'd make a lousy porn star.
None of this is sexy in any way. Yeah, they managed to put in, through characterization of the deceased wife, to put in quite a happy song, happy goodbye love song. so that they could transition from the funeral to the wedding, which was surprising that they managed to do that.
From the end to the beginning again, which I think is meant to be circular.
No.
Because people shouldn't die young. That's not fair.
Yeah. And yeah, leaving a young boy, leaving the parents. It sucks massively.
Yeah. I wonder if he's gonna tell Carl exact same thing.
Or maybe Carl doesn't know. He just might know. But,
I don't know. Being a boss is really weird sometimes, I guess.
Yeah. And she was also at the wedding the previous evening. So we'll see how people are connected here.
Friends of stuff.
I remember her relationship and the person who just phoned her. So
yeah,
not good.
No.
Okay, so the song "Love Is All Around" is also recorded by Wet Wet Wet. Yes, this is going somewhere.
When?
It was from the Troggs, and they made it in 1967. But Wet 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 was asked to do a recording for Four Weddings and a Funeral, which possibly might be why they're using it for this, because they're doing all these homages to all these British films.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the character's motivation is, other than there is the stereotype of the rock star bad boy. So I'm not sure if he's actually being recalcitrant, just being annoying, or is he trying to do this look? I think he's self-sabotaging here. That's my conclusion.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and the poor manager who's stuck with this dude. You can see it on his face. I mean,
yeah, but the previous DJ said the single was bad. It was really horrible.
And it is the song objectively is a good song, but if you start changing the lyrics around and just making it schmaltz, it becomes a stinker. And also the way you sing it in with the choir at the back, and then I'm sure some of it. I'm sure we'll hear more of it where he really goes all schmaltzy on it. But yeah, it's a stinker. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to be a hit, because stinkers sometimes get to be hits.
Yeah, well, it was a good song to start with, so maybe there's room for improvement here. But you need problems at the beginning of a movie, because if you can't start at the happy end. Although this movie, some of them did start at the happy end, which was the wedding and yeah. the couple that are so in love that they that he doesn't even want to leave her when she's got a really stuffy cold. Comes back and finds brother.
Well, it's another kind of self-sabotage. The girl with the other guy implied in her bed, because I don't remember how it goes on from here.
Oh my goodness! I mean, can you imagine a guy that just loves, he loves her so much? Why there'd have to be a good reason to say I don't want this anymore.
Yeah,
or play around.
Sabotage is a real thing, and people actually do it, and then they're very sorry afterwards. But it is self-sabotage. You can do yourself wrong, and I think she is doing herself wrong, and Rocker Dude is doing himself, and by extension his manager wrong, because basically his manager, he has only one meal ticket, and that's the Rocker. And
yeah,
so
yes, there will be more about that, because I remember scenes later on.
Yeah, I know, but basically he's torpedoing two people. As long as you're torpedoing on yourself, it's stupid, but okay. But if you start torpedoing your family or your extended family,
I think even if you're like a solo singer like this guy is, because he's clearly unusable for any sort of rock band. He's probably been thrown out of all the rock bands already. But you still don't go through life, even without attachments, you still don't go through life by yourself. He has a manager, he has his business, he has a person there. And a person is still a person, and especially in this movie.
And these people are attached at the hip. They're where one goes, the other one goes, and if one goes down the drain, the other one has to come with him. That's or jump ship, which is a possibility.
That's the only other option the manager has. The manager is either all in or all out, because he has to put all hours of the day, put in crazy work to get stuff done. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It is not I do an hour, I get paid an hour. It's hunting, not hunting bargains, hunting for opportunities for his singer. So, you know, he's making it. He's making the opportunities.
Yeah.
You got here endless rows of same suited heads. Sometimes there's a female head. That's already something. But even the females pretty much look all the same. So this is literally everybody is has to fall in line, be specifically. I mean, it's a formal occasion because this is the office of the prime minister, clearly.
But this is the business
working table.
This is the internal business meeting because they're talking about the upcoming visits of the president,
and that's always the US president.
I assume. So this is their work meeting for that. So it is informally but formal. But everybody wears a suit, of course. That ladies included. Everybody wears a suit.
Yeah. Not even. Yes, the lady at the end has a black suit, but very often you see women still wearing some sort of color that isn't the dark blue or the black. And in this case, no, they're all falling in line. This is it.
Yeah, and we don't know this because we are not British, but I bet you can tell by the fact that our prime minister is wearing a certain tie, and the guy next to him is wearing another type of tie, and the one next to him is wearing a little bow
tie. Yes,
I think that guy's Labour, and the one before is the Conservatives, and the lady at the back wearing black. The way she's wearing it is going to signify what she is in.
Well, it's 10 Downing Street, so it is actually his party. It is not. This is not mixed. This is not a mixed party business. This is like the West Wing. This is like they're in their own turf.
Yeah, okay.
And the women, by the way, don't have ties. The women actually have a lower.
I'm not talking about ties on her because you can't see a tie. She's wearing black, but there's to everything they're wearing. Is some sort of significance.
Yeah, which we can only guess at because we don't know.
We don't know. So the chocolate digestive is a very British thing. It's these little cakes with a lot of oats in it and chocolate on top, just to make it a little bit more palatable. British people do dunk them in their tea. They are very, very British, and that's why she serves them to him.
Yeah, and he's squirming because he literally said, "Who do you need to screw for a bit of chocolate around here?" I think that is, and he earlier he said this is very inconvenient. It's just so subtly written. Every little thing counts, and of course, all she has to do is kind of look the right way, and turn her head like that. You're done. It's good. It's all good. It gives us an example of some really it's relatively formal clothing, but it's nice what she's wearing. Very British as well.
Come on, get a grip. You're the Prime Minister, for God's sake. Right.
And available to be gifted. So the Christmas party, the
office party.
The office Christmas party, which is a very, actually more of an American thing than I thought, but Brits are doing it too. In the Netherlands, there's a big holiday, almost mandatory holiday between Christmas and New Year's, so people get the whole week off because New Year's is pretty important as well. And they usually do like a small Christmas drink, if any, here, but in Britain I think it's pretty big. So
at my husband's company there's a Christmas dinner, so no.
Yeah, a dinner.
It just depends on the company.
Yeah, but I think this is like like maybe a 50 people company or something like that. So not terrifically big. Big enough for have a little party, but not huge.
Yeah, but apparently it involves mistletoe and
That's
a fair amount of organization, and they are allowing the partners in, which is it was all set very heteronormatively. So we would frown upon that these days. So here's my frown.
Yeah, it's
Don't do that.
it's not that they're excluding them. It's just that it's not that
It was all about the wives and the girlfriends, so that assumes also that most people working in the office, except for his assistants, are all men, which is again very stereotypical. And
it's more of his brief was that he didn't want to have the kids there as well, because then you get a different kind of party. I don't think they would have turned away a husband of a guy, that they wouldn't have turned a gay couple's spouse. By husband and by wives, he means all spouses.
Yeah, I know, but he said wives and girlfriends, and then he continued on with her with like, you don't have a big boyfriend tucked away somewhere. It's like, okay, let's get off. It's just grating now. I think this is 19 years ago. It wasn't grating. It was just okay. I know that he's open to anybody else.
It was implied. And at the time, these things were stated in that way, and it was implied that a spouse of any type would be welcome enough in the place. If
that's what he was saying.
All in the place. If they're not welcome at all, then they wouldn't be welcome at the party, of course. But this is the middle years of you have the 80s and the 90s, where when you started to discover what specifically gay was. Gay and a little bit of bisexuality started to become forward, and you get movies and you get people talking about it, and then it starts to normalize. In 2003 it starts to become normal, as in wives also means just spouses, and then we come to the now-ish in the last 5 years
where all the terminology is actually really hashed out, and we're not there yet. We haven't hashed it all out yet, but we're working on it.
The terminology is now the terminology is we need to be very specific, and I'm going to predict that in about 15 years we will have normalized this more, and we will have more of a consensus of how to talk about it, because some of these ways we talk about it is still problematic on what is the definition exactly, and how is it's still in flux, some of this stuff. So come back in 15 years and we will have a more clear consensus of what you mean when you say wives, and what you mean when you say diversity, and what you mean when you put person of color, and all these things, and LGBTQ plus all these things. We're gonna have another idea about it. So that's in flux.
Yeah.
I like the way that this movie puts in forth complicated human relationships. So this Karen, Karen is the wife of Harry, but unrelated. She's a friend of Daniel, who has just lost his wife, who was actually a stepfather of the little boy who is now in his care. So this makes this entire string of very complicated modern way of living, because it's modern.
Because they could have just made it his son, which would have been a normal thing, because there's already something going on, namely the woman has just died. But it's not, it's stepson. So that leaves me wondering, where is the father?
May already be, for whatever reason, out of the picture. But and
may have never been in the picture.
And this little
been a single month
of the storyline, which is going to continue, of the stepfather and the stepson. Actually, they made a separate movie. Just that
about the boy,
because it is an interesting dynamic. Because what is the relationship between these people? That is not as clear as father son, and they are in a way completely unrelated, yet completely related. And they do a little bit of that in this movie quite well. So I think this is actually, for as beautiful storylines go, I think this is the most beautiful one of the lots. Other ones are more funny. This is not in any way funny, and I think it's smart to have this this very heavy storyline of a dead mother and an almost orphaned boy, but he does have somebody. Storyline juxtapositioned against the guy who goes to America because he wants to shag gals, and nobody in England will shag him.
Yeah.
and the rocker the has-been rocker who keeps torpedoing himself to much hilarity. So you have all that's fluff going on, and then you have this, which is very heavy storyline.
Yes, and you've also got the prime minister, who probably everyone will want to shag him, and so he's just found somebody that he's interested in. And the head of the company, I assume he's either the head of the department or head of the company, who has women going, if you come to the mistletoe, I'll be there for you. So really, so far, this whole thing is very male perspective. There's a lot of male main parts here. We don't really. This is not a female point of view movie.
No, have to check who wrote it, but it's going to be a male. It is, but it wasn't at the time that it came out in 2003. It wasn't annoying. I hear what you say, and I agree with you. It's a little bit slanted towards the male.
The men, all the men have lives, and the women are part of their lives.
Yeah, and they have to deal with the shit that the men do, except for the widower. But at least he also has a female friend to help him out. But yeah.
But again, she is side piece to him. She's a side piece to her husband. She's a side piece to the fact that we will find out that she's the sister of the prime minister. So basically, she is the side piece to everybody, and that's Emma Thompson. And I was wondering when we were starting this, it's like we were saying, oh, we're going to see Hugh Grant, and we're going to see Emma Thompson, but we're also going to see these other 3 male actors. And I was looking at the list and thinking, why are we listing only the male actors? Didn't these women, other than Emma Thompson, who already had a career, didn't they become famous? No, they didn't. Martin Freeman became famous.
I was
some of these other young men, we've seen their faces in other things. There's one woman, which is the assistant to the prime minister. I've seen her face, but I'm going to look her up because I don't remember her name right now.
Except for the lady in the questionable movie, I've seen all the other ladies elsewhere, but not as big stars as a lot of people on BBC. The mistletoe assistant, I've seen her in things. She's been around. She's a staple. The ladies are staples, but they have not become.
But they're not famous. They don't become mega stars, and that says a lot about the industry.
Yeah, and I think that if they would remake a similar movie now, which is very possible to do, you'd get a lot more female oriented stuff, and of course more color, more diversity in that sense. But also a lot more female, because also there's a lot of more female actresses that have grown up in the last 15 years, become there's more room now, and for my diversity in ages. Because especially for female actresses, you could actually age out. You just became too old.
Yeah. Age is a big thing.
For a long time.
You age out very, very quickly.
And now I think there is actually a room for putting in all kinds of ages. More diversity. It is short. It is for 2003. It was spot on with diversity. Now, in retrospective, it is not good for diversity. Not diverse enough.
No. Nowhere near. And also, so far, I don't know how far we're into the movie now, but so far all the storylines have been from the male. The male is the center to each storyline.
Yeah, and that's not going to change. We're about half hour into the movie.
Because I would want to know, why did the girl actually cheat on Colin Firth? Why would you do that? What's her story? There's been a few women we've seen actually now that we don't know anything about and aren't related to anything. Like so far the girl in the stand-in scenes, We don't know if she's
Questionable movie.
actually both of them. We don't know so far what they are in relationship to the rest of the stuff. Somebody will be a sister and a brother of somebody.
Yeah, I don't think they're much relationship.
Oh, there will be something, but you can't put them all in the beginning of the movie.
The guy who's telling them to put hams in questionable places is actually a friend of the guy who goes to England.
Who goes to England, and they were at the wedding.
Yeah, and there's a who caters everything,
Yes.
so he goes everywhere. So this may be your 10 years connection. I mean,
I'm holding out for another one. Somebody can easily be a sibling of somebody.
This little guy is brilliant.
He's so adorable.
He's so wonderful. They did make a couple of movies with him before he grew up, but he is such a natural. He's brilliant. I love him. Yeah. It's too bad that he missed out on doing Harry Potter, because he was, by the time they started doing that, I think he was a little bit getting.
Would have been too young.
I'm not sure. He was not part of that, but oh my God, he's brilliant. I love.
So cute.
Hearts.
Yeah, so adorable. Also the storyline he's going like, it's the biggest disaster ever. He's in love.
All of 11 years old in love.
Yeah. I remember watching it the first time, and you expect all this real gut-wrenching stuff about his mom dying, and even though he doesn't say it, he says it's still bad, but yes, can't help it. I mean, it's like, oh.
So this is the saddest storyline, even sadder than the death of the wife, because this girl's life is she can't go anywhere, she can't do anything.
No.
Even if she wants something, she's stuck with this brother, I believe, that's pulling her back every time that she wants to make a life. He pulls her back, and it is not self-sabotage. It's because and it's not the brother's fault either, but she should cut ties with that, and because
she can't, because of love. She can't. It's her brother. Yeah. So she has an impossible choice, which is either she has a life or she takes care of her brother. And the taking care of her brother is an endless situation that also will never.
And it's thankless. It will never improve. It's thankless because I don't think it actually makes any difference to him. Yeah. Not really. In the moment.
We'll see when we watch the rest of the movie, but that's how I felt as well. Is that there is a point. Yeah, it's gut wrenching. The whole thing is gut wrenching. That's the problem with her situation.
Yeah. And in the movie, it's. I think in the movie they can go as deeply into this sad story, because at the other moment you have Rowan Atkinson putting in extra candy in an embarrassing gift. So yeah, that.
And we're still waiting for that mistletoe moment.
It'll happen.
It's gonna have to happen. But if there's a happy ending to that story, that will be definitely later in the movie, because we're gonna have problems first.
I think definitely that when they wrote this movie, the writer made a checklist of any possible permutation that love can have, including for across frontiers, requited, unequal,
power dynamics.
The only thing we haven't seen yet is late. We haven't seen some old people, but I think we see them in a little cutscene. They do include them because they do realize. Yeah, they're missing the old people.
Nice. Okay, so there's some ageism here. We'll see.
Yeah, but like I said, I think they do it in a little cutscene and some old people. So I do remember that. So that's from Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts in Notting Hill. in Notting Hill. That's where it is definitely. So, and in a checklist, and they're simply checking every single box all the way down.
Yeah. So our writer dude, who turns out to be the writer dude, who we didn't know he was a writer dude.
But it was obvious that he was a writer dude.
No, I hadn't. I was like, oh yeah, that was this movie. So he's just lost his girlfriend to his brother, or one assumes, because I don't know that we'll hear more about them. And so he's upsticked and gone to, one presumes, France, because that's a co-producer of the of this movie. So it's gonna be France.
Spain. He went to Spain.
Is it Spain?
Or at least the lady he meets is going to be Spanish speaking. So I don't know exactly where they are, but it's Spanish speaking.
And then you have the question: do you stay in a country because of a person? Does that person come back to you with your country? Yeah, it's a big thing in relationships.
Yeah, and especially in 2003, and still, on the whole, the women go where the men come from.
Yes,
on the whole, and
on
that's
the whole,
9
out of 10 times.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he's not even that far yet. First, he has to meet her, then he has to decide for her.
That'll be fine. It's in the script.
You have this kind of problem? Yeah, of course you did, you saucy minx.
She was married. Very happily married, by the way.
So I would say that one actually put the woman in the center. She's not this. She's like the personal attendant or something for the
tea lady.
Whatever she is. Let's call her not a tea lady. Maybe she's a tea lady. I guess she's the tea lady. The Chucky biscuits and tea lady. But yeah, this is actually, she got to tell something about her life and assert herself as in, yeah, my boyfriend dumped me because he felt I was fat. And he doesn't even, he doesn't say, no, you're not. He doesn't say, yes, you are. It's not up to him to say. He shouldn't say anything, but he also, the way he doesn't say anything actually is very like, I like her. I don't care about any of that. Because he's clearly tried to stay away from this whole women business or relationship business. If you
I have no idea why, because he's obviously interested in relationship business.
Yeah,
he's just not the right.
No, it was his career one way to go only, and now he's there, and suddenly, whoops, there she is. Yeah. So,
but the scene is still filmed from his point of view. It is still about him discovering about her.
Yeah,
and
we got to know more about her than so far we have about any woman in this. Thing.
The thing about it's the objection that people have against male gaze as in this sense, not as in sexual male gaze, but the point of view being the man is fine. It's not a problem. The problem is that there are not enough point of views from women. You have to have both, preferably in the same movie, because in this movie,
that's what I was gonna say when you say, okay, this is fine, but this movie, because it's so about all these different stories, no, it's all about the men's different stories. Yeah. And if they had made it now, they would have put more diversity in, of course, color and sexuality and gender identity and stuff like that. But also they would have literally just half and halved the female perspective, male perspective, and put a squash in the middle there for the other types of genders.
Yeah, for other types, maybe they would have done the kids, the story of the boy. From
the boy's point of view
instead of the father's point of view. Yes. But I understand why that didn't happen, for the simple reason that then you'd have to have a really good actor, which they do, but you don't always know that in advance. This little kid is actually a surprise actor, so as such, this is it's not quite his first role, but when they write it, you have to write on what you have, and they know they have good grown-up actors. They are not going to be sure they have grown-up kids, so you'd have to on the fly or extra write it for a good little actor.
Another one that they could have done from the perspective of somebody else is the office people, so the man in the office.
Yeah,
and it could have been done from her perspective, because we actually did come in with the messenger boy, gave her stuff, we walked with her into the office. It could have stayed with her, but the script writing moves to him.
They could have done the entire Harry storyline, which is we're going to see some more of that later.
From the women's point of view.
From the mistletoe assistant to the wife, do their parts and just leave Harry's part out altogether. Maybe as being observed as he buys a gift, which is an important scene, a very funny important scene. But that is, I think, that is our modern 2022 view of a 2003 movie. They did a lot of very modern stuff here in 2003.
Yeah, and still we already go, that's dated, that's out of date. And 20 years does a lot. 20 years is not a small amount of time.
No.
Especially 20 years worth of also social media, which has sped all this kind of stuff up, because we have a lot more voices now.
There is zero of these modern things. There is absolutely zero here. They don't even talk about an email.
No.
Here they don't have in 2003. Yes, their mobile devices do exist, but very few people had them. It's just two or 3 years later people started to have them a lot. Nobody has one here at all.
I haven't seen one. No.
Here they say it. The father asks the little boy about the crush and doesn't assume that the crush is female. Yay! And this is the start of it. It's 2003. They are aware of this is going on, and it is.
Whereas Folk had just aired 1999. That was big on UK television. So a lot of people have like, oh wait, we have to be open.
We have to ask the question. We have to not assume. And that's what he does here. He not assumes that the crush is going to be female. It is female because statistically, it's 1 in 10 that is going to be not straight. At this point in 2003, it's 1 in 10 that's not straight. So 1 in 10 shot that it's not a girl. But he asks. That's important. Oh, those are Ant and Dex, or Ant and Dex, and nobody knows. It's a running gag in England. They always put it on quizzes. If you want to do a British quiz, do you know anything about Britain? Then you ask which one is Ant and which one is Dex, and the answer is nobody knows.
Oh right, I don't know them. But he's totally out of place here. You can see the kids in the back are in the studio. They're all young. They're teens. The presenters are young adults. What is this old geezer doing there? I wouldn't say the same, of course, if it was really Cliff Richard, because then I'd go, yeah.
Point. You should think this is Cliff Richard. Cliff Richard.
Yeah, but it's Cliff Richard bringing out a really bad Christmas song, and he didn't do that.
That's a matter of perspective.
All right. Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel that Cliff Richard did put out a lot of bad Christmas songs that did really well. This is why the song will do really well, because it is still underneath a talented musician who does a good thing. Even though this is a caricature of that, so he's a little bit less good looking than he should be. I think the actor had so much fun playing this, because he's like and the next too. I think I just had an epiphany about this character, because there's also Jimmy Saville. I think he was called Jimmy Saville,
Okay.
who was a TV presenter, not a singer, but he had the very similar looks to this. I mean, the tall and the blonde with the hair a little bit too long. There the similarity ends. At this time, 2003, yeah, you looked it up.
I looked it up, yeah.
These things that are now known were not known, and I think so. This guy is actually meant to be an amalgamation of Jimmy Saville and Cliff Richard put together.
Yeah, I don't see the Cliff Richardness in here.
This is
But
singing. This is
yeah,
singing.
you're right. They would not have known because scandals came out after he died in 2011.
Yeah. So that's, I think, what they're going for. And so this is very recognizable to British TV, like this shot of Anton Dex, and this Cliff Richard, Jimmy Saville crossover is going to be very recognizable to any British person. I mean, American's not going to say much, and Dutch person also. But Jimmy Saville was a presenter on TV. He did a lot of kids shows. But he was not a singer, he was a presenter. And if you want to look him up, it went all the way down the drain. They don't know this. So this is still a look. So this is a fair look. They don't know this.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't know this.
I found the relationships chart in all the characters between all the characters in Love Actually. Judy and John, who are the stand-ins, are indeed only connected professionally to Tony, who is
the gaffer.
The gaffer, yeah. And Tony has connections, but not a huge amount. So the other people who are very little connected is Joe and Billy. That's the singer and the agent or manager.
Connected.
But their connection is that they're constantly on the radio or television in scenes where people are, because they're doing the Christmas pop charts.
Yeah. I have to say, you know, there's the term homewrecker is a thing, and she knows he's married.
He's married. What's she doing? Why is she doing it?
That's not okay. I'm sorry, it's not okay. I mean, it is also his choice to do or not to do, but she's pushing where she's not wanted. So that's not fair, I think.
It's a really bad plan, that's for sure. And if that's what she gets off on, which I would assume that's what it's about, it's exciting, and she will dump him as soon as he would actually leave his wife, because then he's no longer exciting.
Maybe. But if she wants him for realsies, you get somebody who left somebody else for you and who could do the same to you. So whatever you do, you're not going to get a relationship out of it. This is not viable.
It's not the type of life she's leading, I don't think. She's not looking for a permanent relationship.
So she is a homewrecker. She's a homewrecker.
Yeah, find somebody else to play with. You know, it's like, why? Yeah. But he needs to push back and say. And then the question is, okay, is this I don't know, sexual harassment at the office?
No,
if the roles were reversed, absolutely. And so the question is, if the gender roles aren't reversed, why is this not sexual harassment?
I don't think
it's terribly inappropriate.
Yes, I think if it was reversed, it would be terribly inappropriate. It's not sexual harassment yet because there is no encroaching upon the personal space. There's just an offer. She made an offer, and if he would make,
but it was pretty lewd.
It was a lewd offer, but then you can say no. If he then did it again and again, then you talk about sexual harassment. But just offering, I don't think that is. It's fair to call the very first offer a sexual harassment. It is the second, third, and fourth offers when it has already been turned down. That's the harassment. So yes, a man can offer as long as you stay outside of the personal space.
Mm-hmm.
Offer as blatantly as they like.
Well, yeah, but if what she was doing was the equivalent of him, a man cupping his
And it is
It's
bad
tough,
taste.
and it's just
It's bad
ugh.
taste. It's bad taste. It's a bad idea, but it's not sexual harassment yet.
Yeah. Well.
Then he turns her down, and then she keeps coming back at it, and he can't leave because they're in the same environment all the time. Then it becomes sexual harassment. But the first offer is never sexual harassment. Lewd, ugly, bad taste, all those things. But no is no, and as long as the person accepts no is no, there's no issue. Should be no issue. But it's up to him to decide no, and then to say no. Oh, you got yourself some nice Indian food. It's very British tradition to have Indian food Christmas.
And I have myself my cuppa.
And I have a cuppa as well. I made a cuppa of hot chocolate. So and you've got a couple of something appropriate.
Tea.
Tea. Well, there you go. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Some people say Happy Christmas here.
Oh.
Other people say that that is posh. But you will see it in some of these movies. Possibly in this one at the end that people will be saying Happy Christmas instead of Merry Christmas. It's a thing.
Back to the story. So he is in France, but I know the lady, the gal that he's going to meet is Spanish. So that's interesting. So it's not only is he British, he is in France. He meets a Spanish-speaking gal, or maybe Portuguese. I'm not quite sure. We'll find out. So he's all over Europe.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. We suddenly, and except for the mentioning of the American president, there's been nothing outside of the British bubble, and now we're moving.
This is 2003, and there's no talk of Brexit or anything like that. They're pretty.
Oh gosh, nobody.
Europe at this point. Yeah. They've been in the EU for a while.
Which means he can just stay in France, get himself rent or buy himself a little house there, without asking any questions. Nobody asking questions. So freedom of movement through the EU, which
if it came to it, he's a writer, so he's self-employed. But if he wasn't self-employed and he wanted to go with the the Portuguese lady and move to Portugal, this would have been no problem whatsoever at this point.
Yeah.
So these issues of immigration are not an issue here at all.
No, are not going to be an issue whichever way they are going.
No.
And they would in Brexit time they would be an issue to figure out.
Yeah, you'd have to make the usual, the same way that you have in these American movies about coming to America. They now have the same issues.
Yeah.
Interesting thing about seeing an American president being portrayed in a British movie.
Yes, through the British eyes.
Yeah, British view of what an American president is. I think they're well impressed, but yeah, the actor is also really.
Billy Bob Thornton, off the top of my head.
He's
yeah.
It's interesting.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so he immediately noticeably appreciates Natalie, whereas our dear President David is
Prime
like,
Minister.
What?
David is a prime minister.
Yes. Sorry, Prime Minister. Sorry. So the Prime Minister David is like, yeah, she's nice, but I can't even react and tell her, and even,
Yeah, but now he's noticed that the president has noticed, so he'd better get off his butt and do something, because otherwise he else is going to snap her up.
So he's lucky that she just booted her boyfriend out, because a woman like that gets snapped up so quickly. There's going to be men standing around her waiting, And if he doesn't get in front of the line there, you know, or
Well,
before the line starts, the queue starts forming.
he does have an in with management because she already likes him. So there's that.
Yes, and another in is he is a very notable person.
Yeah, but so is the President of the United States.
Yes, and she doesn't seem to be phased too much by all of that, which is also endearing. That's one of the reasons why she's interesting, because she flubs, but it's because she's actually down to earth, and not because she's had, you know,
She's not
airhead.
She's not too impressed by these things, you know.
Yeah.
Now that is sexual harassment.
Yes, and
Yeah,
I believe we haven't really gone to the point where his reaction is that he's not actually dressing the president down for it, which I suppose that would be a diplomatic incident. But really, this is just men in a room with a woman, and one of them is being extremely inappropriate and has made her, has sexually harassed her.
Yeah, and it is still 2003. Because of the relationship, he can't do anything now. Now it wouldn't even happen. The president now is not going to do this anywhere where he can get caught
on film.
Or
Because in reality, I don't trust any of them.
No, but I think the president now, any president now of the United States, is going to be very sure that the door is closed and locked before he does anything, because people can walk in. This is what happened. He walked in.
Yeah, this was very dumb, but it's also weird that he was going to get his own file of papers and leaving the president in his private office. Yeah. That's weird. So I would say that's the writing this can't really happen this way, but that she would go into the office while he wasn't there, also a little bit far-fetched. Why would she?
Both president and prime minister would have had a secretary sitting there to take notes.
Yeah, so, there'll be more people here. Yeah. This is not going to happen.
Exactly.
And she has no power position. She has to say thank you. She has to say yes, sir, in the social, you know, not to having sex with him, obviously, but if he says I want to see you around this. You know, this case that we're doing, then she has to say yes sir, thank you sir, and she has absolutely no power here. Even if she was a man, she would have no power.
But it would be up to the prime minister to make sure that the situation simply doesn't happen.
Yes, so she would now have been taken out of any situation where the president would be there. She would not be there.
Exactly.
I doubt that the movie's going to go that way.
No, but in reality, she would have been getting transferred, which would be a downgrade for her. But there's no choice, and they just transfer her back when the president is gone, because that's all you can do. Otherwise, you get an international incident, and you don't want.
You have to keep her safe.
And you have to keep the country safe, because if this was like much more like a little company and a client, the boss would have just told the client off and broken off relationships. But two countries can't do that, so you make sure that she just goes somewhere else, and that's not fair to her, but you have no choice.
Yeah, it's like she's a pawn at this point.
She's a pawn at this point. As much as that is a wonderful speech, he just sort of basically told the president off publicly in a press conference. This is also wishful thinking on the part of the writer, where you would want to be able to do that. In reality, of course, you can't. It's just wishful thinking, but very enjoyable visual thinking.
Yes, the movie, The American President, has a similar thing in it where he gives up the presidency for love, and that wouldn't happen. But it makes for good viewing, and that's what we got here. Is now they also kind of established that the way this American president is acting is saying we got what we wanted. It was very much about them taking and the Great Britain or the UK rolling over and just saying yes sir. So that's also a little bit of an FU to that kind of a relationship, and saying no, we are actually going to be ourselves. But this is a movie, so you can do that.
Yeah, yay! The magic of cinema. So the British Prime Minister lives at number 10 Downing Street, which is not anyway like Oval Office or anything like that. It is a manor house in a row of houses. That the entire block is, of course, cordoned off and everything. And he lives in the apartment upstairs. I think he was upstairs. I'm assuming that looks exactly like it because it's all known what it looks like. So, but watching him dance around number 10, it's really
Yes. So Hugh Grant talks about this, and I believe we can't believe a word he says about it, because he claims that he told the director or the producer or something, so yes, we'll deal with that. We'll figure it out, and never did. Just literally every time they kept asking, what about the dancing scene? Would you like to practice? Would you like to? We got we got options here. It's like, yeah, well, later. And and then on the day, they were still like, what's he gonna do? So, according to him, he did not practice one moment and just did it because he says he's absolutely not a dancer, and this was just completely too frightening to even think about, so he didn't. But I don't know. I think it was, at least the editor did a good job cutting it all together and making it look very well. And he does move very well. He's just not a trained dancer, clearly, but he has moves, and the mouthing into the camera and the
gyration of the hips.
Yes, well, a man moving his hips is what's not to like. Don't need much more than that.
What? I like the scene in that they because she only speaks Portuguese and he only speaks English, and they don't understand the word they're saying. They use the fact that she doesn't speak anything, and they subtitle her so we know what she's saying. And it shows off so well how they absolutely zero communication of any kind is going on. It is comedic gold, really. Yeah. So much fun.
Yeah. Also, you have to remember that this is December, 2 weeks till Christmas. Yes, it may be nice weather down in southern France, but it's gonna be very cold.
And she's Portuguese, and so Portugal is even lower down on the more south, so on warmer. So if she's obviously used to swimming in natural water, because that's a thing. If you're just used to swimming pools, you don't dive into natural water. But she's used to swimming in natural water, but not in French natural water at Christmas.
So is she a housekeeper rather than a cleaning lady? Because they introduced her as the cleaning lady, but she's making the tea and so she's probably making meals and everything. She's a full-time. She don't need to be cleaning like every single day. It's ridiculous.
She's making food for him. She's a full-time housekeeper.
Yeah, she's a housekeeper. So he can literally just write and never do the dishes. Right. Okay. It's excessive, but sure.
And basically, she's in a type of migrant worker because she's in France and she doesn't speak any French or English or anything other than Portuguese. So
yes, that lady might have actually solved two problems here. Not just him needing a cleaning person, and he doesn't speak enough French anyway, but she needed a job.
And she was supposed to look after two people because the cabin was for two people. But the one person was got rid of.
Indeed, yes.
She's watching his private recording, and this is what you're gonna get.
Yeah, and she barged in. She didn't take no for an answer.
Yeah, and you watch people's private recording. This was not meant for anybody but him, and it was just.
Yeah, he wasn't asked to
And
make.
bad luck that her video, that the official video broke. That's why she's here, because her official video was all purple. She's hoping for other footage, but yeah, this is a private recording.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say one more thing about the diversity casting here, because this plot line now has her with her actual husband.
Yeah.
And then is this other bloke. Now, British casting is what they call colorblind casting. They would simply have cast the best person for the job, regardless of color. So that the fact that this love triangle is in this way is accidental. Anyone in this connection could have been a diversity color. But it happens to go like this. So the way it looks to us now is that it sort of normalizes, wrong word, back to a white couple. And that is not what is going on here. It is colorblind casting, which happened to come out like this. This is what I understand of the British casting for diversity.
Also, there's no reason for any of them to be a specific color, so you can just cast
anything. They could have been,
and for the rest of the whole of this stuff, there is also no reason why people can't be something other than white. It's just that people haven't thought about it.
Yeah. Also, there's you need some really good actors, and there's a couple of it this time. There are a couple of really good Indian actors, but they've been in a lot of things already. So you have to also have the repeat of the same faces, which is a problem that England, that Britain has, and Dutch and Britain film industry have the same problem, is that you see the same faces over and over again, because there's a finite amount of really good people and you get saturated. So you don't want to see them the same ones over and over and over again.
You do.
Yeah, but no, because I've seen it actually goes wrong. It actually can go wrong, that people are actually sick of a person. And so these really good Indian actors, which are both male and been in lots, are not in this one because they've been in lots. So that's why a lot of actors that you go, oh, they should have been in here, they've been in other things, and that's why you but I wanted to say about because it appears that they're gravitating back here to a white couple. That is not what's going on. So that is entirely coincidental. Exactly as colorblind casting should be coincidental. And I think that's a good moment in the movie to show off how much pain and how much love can hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing that the little tyke is talking about, that it's the most dramatic thing ever, and he's doing it as well. And it's
his love is divided because he has his best friend that he has love for, and he's in love with the wife and previously the fiancée of his best friend. There was nothing he could do. He got on the scene too late.
Try to break them up or anything like that, but it's not. He's not going to do that because he's a good lad.
Yeah, but it would never work.
That also.
He would lose both of them.
Yeah.
So he would rather, and then he can't be normal to her because he's just being torn apart.
Yeah, it hurts so much.
So
a lot of people solve the problem by just making everybody else also hurt by breaking them up. But he's a good
not doing that.
Do that. He's a very nice fella.
Yeah.
And
he's
I hope
a very sweet guy, and he's just one ball of hurt, and he's managed not to burden anybody with it yet. And only because she came chasing after him.
Yeah, she would never have known.
No.
He was never going to tell her.
No, he would rather that they think he doesn't like her. That hurts a lot less than any of the other options.
Yeah. Making a mistake.
Well, here's another guy trying to not just protect himself, but he's protecting her. he needs her out of the picture, while actually the president is probably left at this point. But can he actually afford to have her around when the stakes are this high? When his reaction, his emotional reactions to situations with her actually filter into a completely over the top political decision. If he had found another girl that was in the service there, and the same thing happened, would he have gone and done that press conference? Probably not. He would have called whoever, whatever the appropriate steps are, he would have done those and leave it at that.
He needs to decide, because the only way he can keep any lady safe is to actually put a ring on her.
Marry her. Yeah.
And because this in-between thing, and that's what he needs to think about now, this in-between stage needs to be real short at this point.
Yeah, like royalty and stuff, like people like that, you don't have time. You don't have, I mean, modern day, yes, but traditionally you never had time to make decisions, because it's just it needs to be made pretty much as soon as the choices have been offered to you.
Yeah, you have to commit before you not hear the end of the girl's name. That's
he knows nothing about her. Well, he knows where she lives. Haha. He knows where she lives.
They exactly had one conversation, and in that she came out of the lack of a boyfriend and her location. Yes.
Yeah. It's very useful. Besides, he has the entire Secret Service at his disposal to find her if he wants to.
In the unfashionable end.
Yeah.
I like about this storyline that it's not him that the storyline makes find a new gal. It's the boy. Because otherwise it would have been very tropey, the widower looking for a new, but he's not anywhere close to ready to look for anything.
No, literally he was just standing at the funeral, so no, it's not happening right now.
Some films would make him go look for somebody, and this film doesn't do that, and I really, really appreciate it for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he's standing there. This is the ferry service. Is behind him. Yeah. So it'll probably be Calais. Drive to Calais. Take the ferry to Dover, and then drive to wherever they live. That's how he can stuff the back of his car with all the Christmas presents.
Yeah, and there is, even though this is EU still, there is a difference in tax on booze, and so he brings a lot of booze. Anyway, French wine is famous.
Yeah, the French wine is why you would bring it. Yeah.
He brought a whole bunch of French wine and a lot of garlic, which is more of it's not a matter of money, but it's a sort of an in joke, because France famous for the garlics, so it's sort of a running gag that England and England has with France.
Mm.
So this particularly is actually a music video by a chap called Robert Plant, which he's also sort of incorporating. Has the same thing, except it's gals in not in Christmas stuff, but yeah, this is also one of those iconic looks that they're putting in because duh.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that's really nice about this movie is, as you know, if you're going to watch this movie and you're not English, you're going to have a little bit of an Anglophile thing going. And they show London, vistas of St. Paul's Cathedral and Marble Arch and buses and all these things. So that's the very Londony looks of it. It's yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when they say that the city is also a character in a movie like that. I would say at least the scenery or the style. Yes.
in this storyline. Every time he goes to any of these TV shows, and as a Dutchie, on the whole, as a non-British, if you don't watch British TV, you don't know all these presenters, but they're all the real deal.
They're all
the exact real deal. So yeah.
She is the absolute perfect wife, though. There's a little bit of a tropiness going on. I mean, Emma Thompson pulls off the role beautifully well because she's so natural, but she is perfect at everything.
No, she's not. I think they're trying to put down a regular lobster, paper mache lobster kind of mommy. They're not showing any of her problems that she has, because that's not what the story is. The story is about him, and I think she's just she is very forbearing, but I think she's sort of a let's let him come to his own conclusion, and if the conclusion is wrong, then she can deal with it. But he hasn't done anything yet. Mistletoe assistant has offered, and he's still thinking about it. Until he actually makes a move in either direction, then the wife can make a move reacting to it. But he hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
So she
gave him a gentle warning.
Yes, warning that she's aware, and give him space to make whatever choice he wants.
Yeah, which is really the best, especially if he does let the whole thing go and come back to her. If he doesn't, then it's also good to know, because you're better off just knowing, and then you can take action.
Exactly. There's no action for her to take at this point, other than what she did.
No, which means she's a pawn. And she has no agency, really. The agency comes the moment that people are making decisions that rock her life, or make her life. Because if he comes back, he says, "Okay, that was stupid. I'm in here for 100%." Then yay.
But she doesn't have lack of agency here. There is nothing.
Yes, she could kick up a fuss, and she doesn't. That's an active decision what she's doing.
But she kicked up a fuss as such. She let him know that she's aware that something that she's aware of it. He knows now. And she can make more of a fuss and more of a brouhaha about it. But what's the point of that?
And
that's
not the kind of people they are. They're very steady, calm, collected people.
And he's literally has not done anything yet, so there's nothing to object about. So until that happens, then there's something to object about. But and that's what the story is about. Is his decision whether or not he will. And why?
What is he willing? Yeah. What's important to him, and what is he willing to risk for that? Also, coming back to Sarah's story with the brother. Basically, we've been given the lowdown now on what her situation is with the phone going off all the time, and that she will always choose taking care of the brother over
gorgeous
anything, and the perfect guy in her bedroom.
I sit in the middle of doing it. Brother calls, she drops everything and says, "I have nothing. I'm not doing anything." And the perfect guy,
he has a choice. He can say, because he's been waiting for 2 years for her. They kind of implying as well, which is a little odd, but okay. They could have been pining for each other for 2 years and not say anything. And then, possibly because he's shy, and clearly because she doesn't think she has anything to offer. And this is showing she doesn't have anything to offer, but he could make a decision there and say, "I want you anyway. You're it for me, and we're taking this on together."
In a psychic kind of way, brother dear will always call the moment they're getting on with each other. So they're gonna get what they call cock-blocked at every opportunity. I don't know if anybody could put up with that. I mean,
it's amazing that she can put up with it.
Yeah.
It's not a sustainable
There's
situation.
no way a partner is going to put up with that. I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
that you can't expect that. So
one thing about her story is that she's actually the center of her story.
yes,
And that's, I think, so far the only woman in this one.
yeah.
But we got one! Yay, token woman! Yay! It's very, very sad story, by the way. I want to say about that as well. It's a story about taking care of other people. Mantelzorg is called in Dutch. You know, long-term care for people who need serious care. And that's also a very female story. And it's interesting that what they chose for her is that. The widower just gets to become a widower. She's already dead before the story starts. That's very sad. And now we have feels for him because we are sad. But she is in the in the caretaker situation.
Yep. Yep.
Look, actually, I don't need a bag. I'll just put it in my pocket.
No, this isn't a bag, sir.
Really?
This is so much more than a bag.
And this scene, having this scene at this point in the movie when shit is real low right now, you have the silliest of scenes in the middle of it. It's really it's wonderful.
Yeah,
right?
the back and forth between a laugh and a cry and a you know, a stab in the heart is pretty good. They move along very quickly, and they've set the pace at the beginning by going through all these different people. So you're at this point you're trained to take it. Okay, we're going to this scene. We're going to these people. We're going to now it's going to be funny. Now it's going to be sad, and sometimes the sad scenes are going to be funny, and the funny scenes are you know, you don't know.
This is a fantasy. This is not reality.
It does happen to English guys in America that they basically say, "Can you just say something?" Because they love it.
Yeah, but yeah, this is wishful thinking on the part of ye olde male writer. Basildon. I bet the writer or his best friend is from Basildon. So, and for Americans, Basildon is like the Milwaukee of England, basically. It's a nowhere place. But yeah. So nowhere person from nowhere place. England meets unbelievable
hot babes.
Unbelievable babes in Milwaukee and nowhere America. It's a good thing he didn't bring any pajamas.
Yeah, I didn't need them.
So the box of the CD looks exactly the same,
shape, yeah,
as the necklace that she knows he bought. And so she was thinking that she was going to get. But he was listening to her earlier talk about Joni Mitchell. So this is a Joni Mitchell CD. I think it's the entire work of Joni Mitchell. So as a gift for Christmas, it is a thoughtful gift.
Yeah,
it's just not what she expected because
it's an appropriate gift. It just isn't a £250 necklace.
Quite. Yeah, and now this is her story in just mine. I think that's would have been nicer if she had more scenes. But I understand that there's not enough.
Yeah. So it is actually Joni Mitchell's song, and the cover that we just saw is literally on that CD.
Yeah, this is both sides now. I think
both sides now by Joni Mitchell. And earlier on, when we had Sarah in the bed with Carl, and she kept getting the phone calls, that was the Songbird by Fleetwood Mac. Which is a really sweet song. They're using these are from, I don't know, 40 years prior, so or 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are classics that any British person.
Yeah. So when there's a breakup, then suddenly you're alone. So this is what she's dealing with. She's been dealing with the fact that she is alone the moment that she realized that his eye was roaming. And you can't the person that you rely on is not there for you to deal with the situation, because the person you rely on is the person's creating the situation.
And he has absolutely nobody to talk to, because her best friend, who's Daniel, has his own problems. And
he would be open for her to talk to him, but I don't think she's at the point to talk to anybody.
Yeah, she should really talk to Daniel, because he is an outsider in the situation. The only other people she knows in this movie, I'm sure she in a real person would know more people. But her children are too young to talk to this about. So she should call. I hope she calls Daniel. I forget what she does, but I hope she calls Daniel, or she happened to be. He calls her for whatever reason, then they talk about it. But unless and until Harry actually says it's over,
nothing's happened yet. Yeah, but she thinks something's happened now, because she thinks he's already given the present to this other woman,
and he has. But as long as he actually hasn't done anything other than give her a ridiculously overpriced heart, as she doesn't do any actual action, they're gonna have to figure this out.
Unless, of course, Claudia Schiffer calls, in which case I want you out of the house straight away, you wee motherless mongrel.
Oh.
No, we'll want to have sex in every room, including yours.
So up to this, well, no, I suppose not, but I think one of the very best relationships so far in the movie is the stepfather, stepson, Daniel and Sam. They're just so in sync. They have open communication. They talk about everything.
Funny.
Yes, they're willing to let the other person be who they are.
I think Daniel is just happy that the problem at hand is just a love thing, which he takes seriously, but it could be so much worse, and he's just enjoying the fact that Sam is in love. I think that's what's going on.
And that's really probably therapeutic for him, because he can still feel love.
And he's needed, because he's supporting Sam in his first love feelings, and he can actually. That's the thing that is very unique about men in general, is that there is a need to do something. Puts the serotonin up, but it's a thing. We know it's a thing. Being able to actually do something, and he's doing something for Sam here in a very active role, as in sit and listen. I mean, the actions themselves are very passive, but he's doing them actively, and that gives him a purpose that takes him away from his own grief, I think. And yeah, that's lovely. It's lovely to watch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I stopped it here because the I don't see one, but the Christmas jumper is a thing. Well, the dad and the mama wearing red and stuff like that. Never mind. I don't see a Christmas jumper. Probably.
Well, the question is this before or after Bridget Jones? Because the Bridget Jones ones actually put it on the map.
No, but the Christmas jumper has been on the map in England for a very, very, very long time, and deplorably long time. So her boss shouldn't have interfered in this. He didn't know, but now Carl knows, and he can actually move on. She can never move on.
Yes. Yeah, we're wrapping up the stories at this point, and Carl doesn't need to have lines to say that this is just not gonna be possible for him.
And he doesn't have to put any more investment in this either. He can literally move on.
Yeah.
Stopping it again. The red boxes are a thing. These are the boxes of papers that go from the Prime Minister to the Queen. So the Queen also has these red boxes, and they are notorious because every time you have a Christmas or a holiday, these pile up. They actually stack. You can have a real big stack of them, all full of paperwork. And so what is our darling Prime Minister doing on Christmas Eve? Red boxes, paperwork.
The set of cards to bring at the door or anywhere and not say anything, and then there's this whole, it's like an excessive amount of them, and this it's half funny, half serious, and it's about love. That's been done several times since, and it's just so adorable.
It works.
It's a fantastic new thing that they did here.
Yeah. Incidentally, one of the cards, he said, "Oh, I will love you forever until you look like." And the is actually because I recognize the image. It is actually a Egyptian mummy of, I think, not Nefertiti, but a very important, beautiful princess was at 3,000 years ago. So this is a known image. So that's yeah.
Come on, let's get pissed and watch porn.
The bromance form of love. It's even that is in this movie, and they're like he confessed his love for his buddy.
Platonic love.
Yes, and he's like, I would just want to spend Christmas with somebody I love.
Yeah, well, the manager also didn't have any, because the manager, he could have been married and had a couple of regrets, but he also never got.
Their passion connects them, and they spent their adult lives together, probably the last 30 years. He says he's in his mid-50s. I rather doubt that. He's more like in his 60s, but fine.
Lots of fast living.
Yeah.
All the cards is exactly the same. Well, pretty much exactly the same.
Probably all have to say exactly the same.
If you can't say it at Christmas, when can you, eh? I'm actually yours, with love. You're Natalie.
Actually,
yes.
Love, actually.
Yes.
It's all around us.
Yes. And he's not there for it.
I'm actually yours, dude. Get the... Yes. Hello. Yes! Okay. We need to get to the dodgy end.
That's your basic terraced house, council housing at the dodgy end of Wandsworth.
Yes, and it is so long that there's... Just start driving.
Is this their take on the Cinderella story, where the prince goes around the country, or the lackeys go around the country with the shoe?
I think that's shoe fits. Is this the right council house, please, in the dodgy end? Do you happen to have a daughter named
Natalie? At house number 102.
102. So yes, this is a rags to riches story. Not that she is rags.
No,
but it's the combination of Cinderella, rags to riches, the whole thing, the marrying the prince royal, all of that.
Yes.
Keith will be very disappointed.
No, really, it doesn't matter.
The octopus costume's taken me months. 8 is a lot of legs, David.
First octopus.
So you got the school play that gosh, Emma Thompson's child is going to do as first lobster. And these people are going to go for possibly first, possibly second octopus. So it's definitely going to be the same school play where we're probably going to see all of these people pile in together because everybody's related to the people who have kids in the school play.
Yep. They're in Marseille. So that port earlier was Marseille port that he went from. Which is
well, probably ferries from Marseille to Southampton or something like that.
Yeah, but you'd have to go through Marseille is inside of the Mediterranean.
Oh, oops. Well, then there was no then the fact that there was a port there with. No, that makes no sense. I think it just doesn't make any sense.
No, geographically,
Lead vocals by 10-year-old Joanna Anderson. Backing vocals.
Something to be said about the Christmas pageant, which I do believe they have them in America as well. They don't have. We were in a school thing. I was in a school thing in grade school, but it wasn't for Christmas or anything like that. It was a musical thing.
Yeah, the Dutch have the grade school musical at age 11.
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with Christmas.
No, these performances, they're sort of like mandatory. I think it's good practice for kids to go on stage and do something weird. We did it when we were in ballet school. I know I went to at least 2 performances, as in being in it. I think you at least went to something similar. It's an experience. I mean, but yeah, you sort of the quality of it is not going to be very high. I like the way they did this because they have this girl, which they may got in for this, but they have a little the boy actor is really good and the girl is a really good singer, and they don't try to make her do anything that she like make her act when she couldn't, and we can instantly understand why the boy loves this girl, because she's marvelous and everybody's seen is marvelous, and that's why they make the big production number for it on the screen as well. So yeah, I like.
Yeah, it's it was originally performed by Mariah Carey.
Yes.
Probably everybody but me knew that.
It's one of those known numbers. It's one of those known numbers. Yes.
Yeah, and her voice is this little actress voice is just beautiful. Then we get the shot of our young romantic boy immediately behind her on the drums, and he's learned how to play the drums.
I love it.
What more do you want? Yeah. So we just, let's talk about the Christmas number. So much going on there. You had, in the end, she did the All I Want for Christmas Is You and pointed directly at Sam. And he was so happy. And then she did and you, and he just completely fell. He was like heartbroken and jealous.
But she went for him first. She had to turn away all the way around and pointed at him first. So who knows?
Yeah, the Christmas play or pageant, whatever they call it, is the connecting factor to all of these. We've got practically everybody here,
including the couple who met at a questionable job.
Yes,
they are, for some reason, they are in the audience. I'm not quite sure why, but I think
they met up with somebody who was probably, we should know who he is, but there's a huge cast here, so it's hard to keep track. And also Maggie, the wife of Harry, but also the sister of the Prime Minister, David. She actually, in the short scene that she had with him, she was so overjoyed to see him. because she's actually dealing with a lot of pent up emotional turmoil, and she can't tell him about him. She has a brother. Some of these people have family members and best friends and stuff they can actually unload on, and they can talk, but she cannot talk to her brother because he just has no time. She said, I went through your secretary of your secretary of your secretary, and I gave up.
What she said was that she actually always tells him of these sort of performances that her kids are doing, and then it drops off at the secretary. I think if she wants to talk to him, she can. But she's not going to burden him. She's not going to burden him with it. And basically, everybody talks to her, and she doesn't talk to anyone.
Yeah, she's very strong and keeps it all in. And the performance of Emma Thompson of playing that, she shows it to the audience, and she doesn't show it to the characters involved. It's unbelievably good acting. And I want to go back a little bit further as well, because there was this thing that when David, the Prime Minister, and let's there. So what's her name again? They were in the car, and first thing she does to him when he says thank you for your card, she actually apologizes for what happened with the President of the United States. Like it's her fault, and that is like he didn't counter it. He had no time as well, but still, it's just the fact that is how she sees the world. Is I screwed up because I was in a room with him. Believe me, nothing happened. It's like no, everybody should be on her side, and they should be kicking the POTUS's ass.
And he was ready to kick the POTUS's. I did kick
he kicked him.
His royal POTUS's ass.
Publicly, with like country policy, he got kicked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe a pushy American is exactly what he needs.
Oh, is this the pushy American?
This is the pushy American.
All right. Well, he was gobsmacked with the love stick. Clearly, this was it. So this is going to be his next tentative, slow, we'll see how it goes love story. But he was really sweet to Sam. He's never said anything negative or discouraging about the love stuff. He's like, what can we do? Okay, let's go for the next round. And he kind of uses all the romance movies as a template. It's like, well, it's not over.
It's not over. Until the plane takes off, and even then,
it starts a run to the airport, where the whole movie started.
Yeah, and something I noticed earlier when the writer arrived back at Marseille and tried to get into the cab, and somebody cut him in, and he let them. And then the next one drove up, he was sort of annoyed at himself for being such a pushover. And I think that's actually a theme, because the Prime Minister has the same problem. And he's such a proper, well-behaved English gentleman that he lets himself be pushed out of what he wants nearly by the President of the United States. And that's why this pushy American lady is perfect for the widow dad, because she's not gonna I mean, even if he doesn't do anything at all, she's gonna move on him. And that's exactly what these shy British guys need. Somebody to give it a little bit push.
Yeah, and Daniel is now ready after the adventures he's had with helping Sam to go after the love of his current life, his very young life. He's finally to the point where he actually sees there's another woman out there that could be interesting, and so he's healing.
He's healing. He needs a little bit more time, but I think this girl will be sticking around long enough to actually give him that. So
And the scene before this is where we get Harry and Maggie actually confronts him about his contemplated infidelity. He's not done it yet, but he has given a gift to another woman that it was just not appropriate with inappropriate intentions. And she confronts him in a way where she just asks him, how would you feel? What would you do in my situation? Without saying, you have hurt the shit out of me. And then because she's saying it in terms of how would you feel, he actually, you can see it on his face. It's like, I have been hurting this woman so much, and this is the woman I love. This is the woman I married. I have my life and children with. That's yeah.
Yep. I do like the way that they concluded that storyline by both of them learning the other person's language. I think you do have to do that in order to come together in an equal way. They both tried. I mean, neither have to do it perfectly. That's not required, but trying is required, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we saw them all both learning the other language.
Yep.
And they're leaving it completely up in the air where they were going to live. He says he doesn't even know her very well, which is really, really true, as we found out throughout the movie.
They can figure it out. He's a writer. He can live anywhere. And she's very handy. She can also live anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, wherever they want. They are Portuguese and they are in France. It doesn't mean that they should, that because she could go back to Portugal and take him with her. And yeah, or they could go to England or anywhere at this moment, anywhere in Europe at the moment is fine in 2003.
Yeah. And the parent, the father in this case, and the whole family, basically the entire town, are way into it. They're
they were have to give him money for her to give her away.
Yeah. Yeah, we had some film magic in the scenes at the airport, where Sam goes after Joanna, and Rowan Atkinson showing up and just creating that distraction. You're thinking, okay, well, it could be coincidence, but when he walks away, his eyes meet Daniel, the father's eyes.
He walked up.
At that moment, you think, no, somebody sent him. This is
the boy was trying to get through, but they couldn't. So this guy, and I'm going to call him an angel because that's what he is. He's a Christmas angel.
Yeah.
Walks up to the ticket person, starts faffing around for his ticket, can't find the ticket, and then the boy goes through without the guy knowing, and then that's when the angel realizes, oh yeah, I don't have a ticket. And turns out leaves. He didn't even have to be there at all. He's just there to provide a distraction. And I think that's exactly what he was doing earlier in the scene with Harry, where he stalks Harry for such a long time. When he's trying to sneakily buy to embarrass him, to make him repent, I think.
Yeah, give him all the chance in the world to not buy that necklace.
Yeah. I don't think you get to find out other than this what happened to Harry and his wife. I think
did he go on holiday, or did he just take a break?
He went on a business trip. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone along.
But she's very cool.
She's cool, but they're still together. So I don't know if we're gonna find out.
Or not. But she does say, "Good to have you back." So I guess he's
together.
Back.
Otherwise, she wouldn't have come to pick him up. So no.
Oh yeah, so many people meeting each other. So you got James meeting his friends with the love triangle, coming back with his what we assumed like fiance from Portugal. We have Sam and Joanna meeting up again, and that's certainly going on. And Daniel still has the American woman that is now becoming a thing. Yeah, got some people arriving from the US. We've got
Every guy gets a gal. It's a kind of thing. It's a male fantasy, that part.
yeah, it is every man gets a woman. Yes,
Every
there's
man.
not a lot of LGB. There's none.
That also, but
Zero.
yeah.
Zero LGB. And then the prime minister arrives with his very non-standard girlfriend. Now that I applaud. Of course, you know
he gets glomped. That's called glomping. The way she jumped on him, that's glomping.
Yes, she glomped him, and she doesn't care, and he doesn't care. So good, so good.
Well, he does care, but he's putting up with it. He sort of goes ooh, but okay, kissing is good.
He would rather have that and have bad press. Although, I think everyone will eat it up. It's just, you know, she's never going to be the stateswoman's wife. Not the demeanor. She will marry him, very likely, but it's just never going to be that kind of a person. Yeah, just love it all around us at the airport.
Yeah,
so cool.
Final thoughts on the movie.
One note of you know, it's not that too many characters. Thank you. There's just too many characters. Some of them it was really unclear to figure out where they slotted into it, and it shows me that it really helps that if I know who's related to whom and why are we following this character now. Just randomly, either that, or I want, like, give me a set of 4 stories that we flick back and forth, and we know they're unrelated, something like that. But this was just a whole slew of characters, and some had many connections, and some had very tenuous connections.
I think it was meant to be a multi-story thing that were only tenuously connected. That was the point, that the connection was very tenuous, and that one set you only find out because they happen to know a person on the set who knows the chap who went to America to get laid.
Exactly, yeah.
That sort of thing. I think what they're trying to show with that, maybe a little bit heavy-handedly, is that these are everyman. Yeah. Every person here is everyman. Yeah. And that's what they're definitely trying to do here. And I think this actually, I don't understand why they didn't make a second one. You could redo this one now and then put the Everyman of today in this, because this was the Everyman of 2003, and also the interest of Everyman of 2003, because there was LGBTQ things was mostly in the 90s. The gayness came up, so there was a lot of films about that and stuff like that. In 2003 it had sort of normalized a little bit, so it's included, but it's not. That's not what this movie is about. Now you get some references here and there. Like the Daniels asking the son is the girl you like, the person you like is. Yes. He doesn't assume, and so that's why it's become, that part has become normal. Now we have a different kind of normal, and now you could do another version of this and put the Everyman of today in it.
Okay, well, what I would want then is, it's 19 years later, so please make a movie with all the old characters, because they can as good as all come back, and then the young, you know, the kids that were kids then, they would be in their early 20s. You could have
20 years. It's
19 years ago.
Yeah, so, but they're 30. The kids are now 30. The kids that were now 10.
No, but not Harry and Maggie's kids. They were under 10s.
Yeah, but
okay, they're anywhere between 20 and 35 now. And so you could do stories with them and then still see our old characters and see how they have gone. I like revivals. I like it. I like the continuing stories myself.
Yeah. Bears redoing. It is this film is a little niche in time of that time, and it's chock-a-block with talent of that day and years of that day. It's a good movie,
and the concept is timeless, can be done over and over again, and why not do it? Give us more of this. there's a lot there. There are even more permutations of love than they've shown, and they tried to show everything they could think of. Yeah, let's go for it. I'm ready. I'm ready for the next movie.
Next movie. And well, that's it for this one. So that was my opinion.
And that was my opinion, and we are sticking to it.